Alrighty, our lesson for today is working with patterns. So let's review what we've learned the past few days in class and in our previous videos. Go ahead and answer these 3 questions on your flipped classroom sheet, and then when you're done, you will begin today's lesson. The question is, how do I identify, describe, and extend patterns? Your term pattern is your sequence of numbers, figures, or symbols that describes a rule. So, back in your younger days in elementary school, you most likely had questions dealing with patterns with shapes. If you had a square, circle, square, circle, you'd usually be asked which shape would come next. And in this situation, it would be the square. How do you know that the square comes next? Well, because the pattern is every other. So square, circle, square, circle, square. What you're going to be doing in this situation is using numbers to determine what patterns are going to be coming next. Sometimes you'll have shapes too, but today we're going to be focusing just on those numbers. So here's a very simple one to begin with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What 3 numbers would come next? And what is the rule? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your rule is that you are adding 1. So the next 3 numbers would be 6, 7, and 8. Here is an example of a pattern, which is a list, just like the previous example. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. What would be the next 3 numbers in the pattern? And what is the rule? So first you want to determine, how did I start at 3 and get to 6? Well, if you count up, you realize that you counted 3 to get in from 3 to 6. Then, make sure that your pattern stays true. I'm at 6 and I need to get to 9. I added up by 3 in order to get 6, so let's see if it works for 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. You check it for every number and just to ensure that your pattern and your rule is true. So for this one, your rule for the pattern is to add 3. Now, sometimes you will be asked to determine a pattern that serves a function table. Here we are looking at a reading log. On top we have our days that we read, and on the bottom is our time in minutes. So on day 1, we read for 40 minutes. Day 2, 80 minutes. 3, 120, 4, 160. Your very first step is to determine what goes in these blocks. And in order to do that, you need to understand what your pattern is. So, if I had one day with 40 minutes and 2 days at 80 minutes, how did I get there? For this pattern, you are multiplying by 2, your time by 2. So 40 times 2 is 80. 2 days, 80 minutes. Now, if this is true, you would take 40 times 3, which would be the number shown below. So 40 times 3 is 120. And you continue to check that and fill it in. So you would do 40 times 5, and you would write your answer right down here, 200. Then you would do 40 times 6, and that would give you 240. Your pattern would be to multiply time by 2. And for your expression always needs to have 3 things. What are they? It's your number, your variable, and your operation. So your number in this situation will be 40 because that's what we've been using to multiply. So you'd write 40, our operation, x, or multiplication, and then our variable would be n, because you're 40 times n. Here you go. Here are your last two questions for your turn. Number 4, 20, 40, 60, 80. Fill in the next number and tell me what the pattern is. Number 5, based off of this table, how many peppermint patties would be consumed on the 4th week of school? So in 1 week, I ate 8 peppermint patties. In 2 weeks, 16. 3 weeks, 24. If I had 4 weeks, how many peppermint patties would have been consumed?